diplomatic relations, and tributary systems between Southeast Asian kingdoms and China. The Dragon and the Southern Lands. Imagine a vast, ancient empire at the heart of Asia, viewing itself as the center of the civilized world and smaller kingdoms surrounding it, engaging in a delicate dance of diplomacy and deference. This was the enduring reality of relations between Imperial China and the myriad kingdoms of Southeast Asia for over a millennium. At the core of this interaction lay the tributary system, a complex framework that was far more than just a simple exchange of goods. It was a system that articulated China's hierarchical worldview, while simultaneously offering Southeast Asian rulers avenues for trade, legitimacy, and protection. From the early coastal polities to the great empires of Angkor, Pagan, Srivijaya, and Majapahit, each kingdom navigated this relationship, seeking to maximize its benefits while maintaining its sovereignty. This exploration delves into the intricate web of diplomatic relations and the multifaceted tributary systems that connected Southeast Asian kingdoms with the formidable power of China. Chapter 1. The Chinese Tributary System, Ideology and Practice. The Chinese tributary system was the dominant model for foreign relations, shaped by China's unique worldview. Sinocentrism and the Mandate of Heaven. Central to the system was the concept of sinocentrism, the belief that China, the Middle Kingdom, was the cultural and political center of the world. The Chinese emperor, as the Son of Heaven, ruled by the Mandate of Heaven, a divine right that extended his moral authority over all under heaven. This ideology posited that surrounding states were naturally inferior and should acknowledge China's supremacy. The ritual of tribute. The system operated through a ritualized process. Tribute missions. Foreign rulers or their envoys would send periodic missions to the Chinese imperial court. The frequency depended on the distance and perceived importance of the state. Tribute gifts. These missions brought tribute in the form of local products, exotic goods, or rarities. While symbolically presented as tokens of submission, these gifts often had significant economic value for China. Kowtow. Envoys were expected to perform the kowtow, a ritual involving 3 kneelings and 9 prostrations before the emperor, symbolizing deference. Imperial investiture and gifts. In return, the Chinese emperor would bestow lavish gifts on the envoys and their rulers. These imperial gifts often far exceeded the value of the tribute received, functioning as a form of disguised trade. Crucially, the emperor would also issue letters of patent, imperial seals, and sometimes even a Chinese calendar, which conferred legitimacy on the foreign ruler in the eyes of their own people and other regional powers. A flexible hierarchy. While seemingly rigid and hierarchical, the tributary system was often flexible in practice. China's direct control over tributary states was almost always non-interventionist, focusing on symbolic acknowledgement rather than direct administration. The system primarily aimed to maintain peace on China's borders and affirm its cosmic centrality. This ritualized exchange served China's ideological need to affirm its status and provided a framework for controlled foreign interaction, rather than direct conquest or forceful annexation of distant lands. Chapter 2. Southeast Asian Engagement, Pragmatism and Profit. Southeast Asian kingdoms engaged with the Chinese tributary system not simply out of submission, but largely out of a pragmatic understanding of its benefits. Trade opportunities. One of the most significant motivations for Southeast Asian kingdoms to participate was the access to highly lucrative trade with China. Tribute missions were often accompanied by private merchants who could conduct profitable trade alongside the official exchanges. Chinese goods like silk, porcelain, and tea were highly desired, while Southeast Asia offered spices, timber, precious metals, and exotic animals. Legitimacy and status. For many Southeast Asian rulers, receiving investiture from the Chinese emperor provided an important source of external legitimacy. This recognition could strengthen their position against internal rivals or elevate their status among competing regional powers. The emperor's seal and official robes were powerful symbols of imperial favor. Diplomatic recognition and protection. Participation in the system offered a formal channel for diplomatic communication with a powerful neighbor. While military assistance from China was rare, the recognition implied a certain level of political stability and could deter less powerful aggressors. Diverse levels of engagement. Different Southeast Asian kingdoms engaged with the system in varying degrees, reflecting their geopolitical realities and internal strengths. Chapter 3: Impact and Legacy. The long history of tributary relations left an enduring, multifaceted legacy on both China and Southeast Asia. Cultural exchange. Beyond economics and politics, the system facilitated significant cultural exchange. Chinese technologies, administrative practices, philosophical ideas, and art forms flowed into Southeast Asia, while exotic goods, local knowledge, and occasionally even new ideas traveled to China. Economic interdependence. The tribute trade fostered a degree of economic interdependence that shaped regional commerce for centuries. Despite occasional Ming prohibitions on private overseas trade, the tributary system provided a consistent, if controlled, channel for international exchange. Regional power dynamics. The system influenced regional power dynamics within Southeast Asia. Kingdoms that successfully managed their tributary relations with China could leverage this relationship to enhance their standing among their peers or even gain an advantage in regional rivalries. Differing interpretations. Crucially, while China viewed the system as a clear expression of its universal supremacy, Southeast Asian kingdoms often held more pragmatic and nuanced interpretations. They saw it as a diplomatic channel, a trade opportunity, or a necessary formality to ensure peace, rather than an absolute submission of sovereignty. This asymmetric understanding allowed the system to function effectively for centuries. Decline. The tributary system began to wane significantly in the 19th century with the rise of Western imperialism. European colonial powers, operating under a different model of international relations based on national sovereignty and equal treaties, dismantled the traditional Chinese-centric order in the region. Conclusion: a delicate balance of power and protocol. The diplomatic relations between Southeast Asian kingdoms and China, governed by the intricate tributary system, represent a fascinating chapter in East Asian international history. It was a relationship built on a delicate balance. China's ideological need for symbolic deference met Southeast Asia's pragmatic desire for trade, legitimacy, and stability. This system, far from being a simple imposition, was a dynamic framework that allowed for centuries of generally peaceful interaction, fostering cultural exchange and economic prosperity across a vast geographical expanse. The legacy of these interactions remains visible in the shared cultural elements, historical records, and enduring connections between China and the nations of Southeast Asia. What aspects of this historical relationship do you find most compelling, particularly in how both sides benefited from the system? Share your thoughts in the comments below.